discussed this issue, and it has finally begun to come together in the form that you see, accomplishing many of the things that we need in this town, especially including support of public works and our infrastructure. So I'll open the floor at this point for comments or questions, and begin with Mr. Fuller.
Cindy, first of all, thanks for a great job and for a very coherent and understandable presentation. I want to clarify one thing. As I was going through some of the data you provided, tell me if this is right. We are one of 14, that is 13 plus we, in this benchmark group. If you look at the tax rate among those 14 towns, 12 have higher rates than do we, and the only one who is a bit below us has not had a reval since 2007. Is that?
That's correct. That's correct. That's based on data from the 2013 audits that the LGC has online regulators.
So as we might have said growing up in High Point, we're next to lowest.
Further comments and questions? Yes, ma'am.
This is what's y'all got all this money ready to go. But west side, probably gonna use some of this money over here on my side and clean up some of this debris they got on this water running. Can't sit on reports of mosquitoes and stuff. So this is what I can't understand. Why we don't get none of this on our side? Because I got a feeling it's all on this side. And I've been in Davidson for a long time, but it's inside the words that I saw that we don't get nothing doing on our side. And it bothers me. And I'm glad to come to this meeting because I didn't know they had these meetings up here. Because I've been in Davidson all my life. But this is about the words that I saw over there in the black community yet. And I've been there for 83 years. And I'm gonna ask the question, we paying all this tax money, why can't we get some over on our side?
I'd like to ask a question too. I'm Daisy Rainford, and I'm glad I did come to the meeting. When did you do the survey? How did you do it on the internet? How did you send out papers? Because this
Citizen
is,
survey?
yeah, survey.
It was,
No, I don't, let me check. We're on the outside to see the end of the blacks getting the survey. Did you do it on the internet? Or did you do it by paperwork? Or did you mail it to people?
It was mailed to people.
If we didn't get it.
Well, somebody over there got it.
Who's somebody?
Well, I don't know. We hire someone to do a scientific study for us.
This is what I'm
You want an
saying.
answer or you want to talk?
I'm gonna talk.
Okay,
And
go
I'm
ahead.
gonna answer. Because you pick out certain people and you make them to be the better people in Davidson. The survey didn't go to, did you get one, Evan? Did you get one, Patricia? Julie, did you get one? You had 4 people here. 1, 2, 3, 4. No survey. No one can give a count of nothing.
the survey is mailed on a random sample to, how many, 2,000 citizens?
It's all around here. I think it's
1,200.
1,200 citizens. And it's a random sample of, there's no selection of people, it's randomly selected.
And if you'll look at our website where the survey is online, there is a map that shows how many were done across town. There's a dot for each response.
Yeah,
And there are some in the west side.
That's true too. But we come to the meeting tonight, we didn't know nothing about no budget meeting. And we did not know nothing about no survey. And if anyone from the black section got a survey, they didn't share it because they're not gonna share it. Okay? That's how we feel being left out. Because we have certain people who are honored and some not honored. And we paying tax money just like the rest of them. And we would like to have a fair share of Davidson because this is our hometown. And we having people suffering today, crying, calling me, I'm about to lose my home because I can't afford my tape. How do they know? Because they're not in the survey, and the other people not gonna tell them what's going on up here in Davidson. It's a lot of things that we can sit down and discuss, before you raise anything here in Davidson, because you don't want it to get in the media and either in the paper. And we appreciate what you're doing, but let other people know that we have voice because we're paying tax too. Because it's something that's serious, it's not happening, but we are trying to correct it.
Can I ask a question? How do we let folks know that we do have a meeting to discuss the budget?
We advertise in the newspaper. It's required to every year. We put it on our website.
What newspaper?
Lake Norman section of the Observer.
It wasn't in the paper because Kenese and Huntsville already had done theirs and waiting on Davidson to do theirs.
How do you think we should let people know about this? What's the best way?
Let me say something, because I've been to a number of meetings here, and I've explained to the town for many years every time I come. In the neighborhood where we live, the best form of communication is at our churches. Most of our people go to church on Sunday. I offer to send to the town a list of the churches. Because everybody that Davidson don't go to, they go to Presbyterian Church, they don't go to East Temple, they go to churches in Cornelius and Huntsville. So I offer the town to send them a list of people in the churches. If you send it to the churches, the announcement will be made on Sunday. But when I offered, they said they do it by email, they do it by this. A lot of those people, most of the people on the west side are old people. They don't have to. Not that, and I told you that before, they don't have to. So they don't get that. A lot of them don't get the job served because too much. So the only way they know is if you send them a letter, and I would think, and Davidson somehow or another, you get us our tax statements. So you got the address, you got the post office box, so put it in the post office box. It may cost you a little money, but if the public is willing to send a bill for $2.34, I would give the town to send one for $600, and I get my tax bill of $1,500. And so that's what I'm saying. And I work in corporate America, and everything now is technical. By technology, you send this, you send that. But you can't do that when you're dealing with old people. Most of the people on my side of town are in their 80s. My mom is 83 years old. We got some people that are 90 years old. So you got to do something to get that information to them.
Do you get our newsletter? It's been in our newsletter that we do mail to people's homes.
I get the newsletter.
Okay,
It was in
yeah.
that.
The notices of our meetings are announced in those newsletters. Those newsletters are delivered to every church in town. If you'll let me know other churches out of town, we'll try to get it to them too. We're making every effort to communicate with people. But communication is a two-way street. We can mail you information, or someone can mail me information, but if I don't pay any attention to it, then we have not communicated.
Trust me,
So-
I work with that every day. I'm a human resource.
You're in her, I know you
I'm a human
are.
resource.
Yeah.
So I know what you're talking about.
Yep.
But the thing about it is, you need to, like I said, and I appreciate what you're saying, but like I said, I've been to so many meetings up here and offered to give them that information. But they'll send it to Davidson Presbyterian, they'll send it to East Temple. I don't go to either one of those churches, I go to Tarsus Chapel, and we got a number of people up here. So if that information is get there, then, maybe, people will know what's going on. And the thing about it, like I tell anybody, scripture says, our people are perishing for lack of knowledge. That's why we have the attitude on the west side, is because we don't know. And when you don't know, what makes you mad? You all know that. So, I will get that information to you.
Thank you very
And
much.
once I do, I'm gonna check and see if you're doing what you say you're doing.
This young lady is giving you a card. If you'll share that information with her, she will be sure to get information to other churches outside of town. We want to communicate. We want you to come to meetings. We want everybody. The greatest disappointment in this meeting tonight is that there are 10 citizens here and some staff. We need more citizens to come to these meetings, because we want you to listen to this information. It's important.
And I know
Look,
it.
Yep.
That's why, and like I said,
you,
Daisy, I was talking to Daisy last night, and I found out the other district, and like I said, I pulled in at 5:30, and then I turned around and came back, because see, I work in Charlotte, and I didn't get home till 5:30, so the reason this is popular district, we makes it late, but, we work.
So one thing, may I ask a question, or maybe make a small recommendation, and I understand that, for example, Ms. Carr, the Parks and Rec Master Plan Survey, we met and I took it over to them, and you've got it, and Miss Annie Mildred has it, and we're working on getting some information back from the Master Parks and Rec. Is it possible, I know it won't be statistically in the numbers of the survey, would it be possible to get some paper copies of the survey and take over to these folks in this church and get an understanding of what they want, taking into consideration, perhaps they certainly feel as though they weren't represented in the survey, and the numbers and the survey sent to the appropriate number of people over there. We don't really have a way to know, I don't think, how many surveys were sent to that area.
We do.
How
I
many?
don't know if we know how many, we can tell you how many responses we got.
From that area, okay, well, that would be beneficial to let them know, and then we know, and even take it one step further. How about, and I'll assimilate it, let's get a paper survey, the citizen survey to the west side, and let them fill it out, as many people as we can, and then we'll work with the information and see what kind of information may have not shown up in the overall survey, just making sure that we've touched a lot of people.
But see, a lot of those people, there was on the survey that they saw what we passed out of it. We didn't get no survey over there about no park, what they was doing. I didn't know anything about no park. And when we get one better survey, they didn't know anything about no park. And what I'm saying, they're very upset about the park. Understand what I'm saying? Because we don't have anything on our side for our children. Nothing.
One of the things
We had 80 Jenkins over there for our children.
one of
We
the,
ain't even got anything, no, my children can't go up there and play, so they got football practice, they got soccer, they got everything over there. Our children don't have nothing. They don't have nothing over there, we don't have nothing over there no more, and it bothers me. You see what I'm saying? And I don't think it's fair for us to pay our taxes, and our children, don't have anything over there to play with. Our children have to play in the street, and I don't think it's fair.
one thing you
And
can't,
down at the park, it's dangerous for the children to go down to the park. They didn't build that park for us. Duke Powell built that park down there for us. Because when they built it, we still didn't have anything. We wouldn't have the park and if Duke Powell come in here. Like I'm saying, we pay our tax money, but that's all we do, pay it for over here. We don't get nothing over there. And it bothers me because I never lived in Davidson like this.
I want to ask a question. Are y'all sending a survey to the people that live in the bungalows, or to the people who paying their tax? That's the question. Because the people who live in the bungalows, they don't have to pay tax.
the survey is sent to a random sample of Davidson addressees, whether they are in a rental property or owner occupied properties. So there's no difference in the selection of the people who are involved in the survey.
We don't pick, Daisy. We don't pick.
I know you don't pick,
But you're accusing us of selecting
I
certain
did,
people.
I didn't accuse you, don't say that. I asked you a question, not a question, I didn't accuse you. I'm asking to get an answer, don't say I accused
So
you.
perhaps, can I back up for a second? If we can get if I can get a hard copy of a survey, is it acceptable if we put together the survey and deliver it and see the information we get back? Is that something that we would need to vote on? Is that something that the rest of the board would be open to?
Yes.
But I think it would be a goodwill effort to accommodate, just to ensure that we're getting the information we need from the citizens that live there.
I have one question.
We'll be happy to do that. Can I just say this? We'll be happy to do this, but we want people to come to our meetings. We need feedback we need to know what you're thinking, not at the time when you're complaining about us not spending money on the budget, because the budget is spent all over this town and on the west side. So I want you to be clear about that, and I gotta be really emphatic about that.
That's why I got one question. You're talking about paper copies, get them over there. Now, if we get them over there and we get them filled out, get them back to you, is it gonna change anything, or is it too late to make a difference? Because, you know, are you gonna redo any of this once you get that survey back, or is it gonna make any difference?
We'd have to look, I mean, we can approve a budget, we can amend it at any time.
Okay,
There's,
that's
yeah,
all I want to know.
absolutely,
That's what I want.
if we had some compelling info, but
Okay.
one thing I do wanna say, when you say we're not doing anything, we're getting ready to spend quite a bit of money on Roosevelt Wilson. We're re-landscaping it, we're putting in that new bridge. You know, Doug, I don't know what kind of paving you've done over there, we've just planted a bunch of trees. So to say that we're not doing anything over there is really not, I'm sorry. I don't think that's a fair statement. We're actually doing quite a bit in Roosevelt Wilson Park in the near future, right, Doug?
That's correct.
And that may be, like I said, the trees, they're nice. I've seen those, and that was a surprise to me. I didn't know they were doing the tree thing until they showed up.
But we did do it in your
Yeah, I saw, yeah,
neighborhood.
like I said, I saw them. The other thing is, Roosevelt Park. Now, the one thing that, and like I said, I don't know how the other people go down there, but one of the things that creates my issue with the park, those ducks. You know, we end up doing good back there, I mean, we everywhere, but I know where I work. But, you know, if you're down there and you're walking, and I have a bad allergy, and, stepping that stuff, you take it to your house, and it goes in there, you see what I'm saying? So if there's something else while you're doing the party, you can think about something that you do.
We have money, I think we have money in our budget to deal with the ducks, right, Doug? We're working on that.
Okay, good.
Okay, I'm gonna pause to a question here. Commissioner Cashin is gonna assist with a special survey, which we can discuss and get at in the hands of everybody. Well, frankly, it can go anywhere in town. And we will assess that information and do the best we can with it. I wanna ask at this point, are there other questions or comments about the budget, about this budget presentation that's been made? Yes, ma'am.
I have something to say. I'm sure you did, John.
Sorry. Yes,
You
go ahead.
were ready?
Well, I wasn't, but go ahead, since you got the floor, go ahead.
Go ahead. So, I live on Sonoma Street, right at the deep dead curve, I call it.
At the bottom of the hill?
Yes.
Okay.
And right where the creek is, yeah. And is that street in the budget? Am I in the budget? For reconstruction of the path that water is going? Because I'm losing property to the degradation that the water is doing on my property. It needs to be piped in, and it's going down the seam.
Okay.
The rocks are falling.
Let me make sure, I'm gonna ask Doug Wright, who is our Public Works Director,
I
to
know
visit.
him, he
Yeah?
knows me.
Okay.
We're converted.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
We are asking for a slight increase for stormwater fund, and that's the type of project that we can do with that.
Well,
that
Mr.
fund.
Doug, if you get that through, I'll give you the biggest hug you ever. Thank you, sir.
All right,
Thank
now, yes, ma'am.
I
Question?
have a question, and I'm not understanding the budget as it was presented tonight. What type of increase is being given to the fire department to accommodate their, I was at the meeting when Mr. McIntosh did a presentation, and I need to know, for my own comfort level, what might be done in this year's budget to help them get the equipment that they need,
Great question.
the paid staff that they need, and improve their stations so that they have living accommodations, so they can respond faster to fires. My ultimate concern is that Davidson is growing so quickly, and I need to know that if my house is on fire, or anybody else's for that matter, when that bell rings in the station, that those guys have everything that they need to be Johnny on the spot to respond. And so, could you explain to me what's being done about that this year?
The equipment requests for this year are funded, the staffing requests for this year are funded in the coming budget so that there will be, the required number of staffing. We also have some money in to continue to determine what's the best plan for providing sleeping quarters. We haven't figured out exactly what that is, but we're trying to create a plan so we know what to do. And we have included some money to implement that plan. Maybe not all of it, depending on what it costs, as soon as we know what is the best move for us. So all of those requests are being met.
Does all of the funding for the fire department come from the local budget? Does any of it come from the county or the state?
None comes from the state. I can answer that part easily. The majority of the money comes from the town. We do contract, or I should say, Mecklenburg County contracts with us to pay for the service outside of the town, but in our ETJ. I think,
Extraterritorial jurisdiction.
yeah, in our sphere of influence, if you will.
The
And
green area on this map right here.
right. So Cindy mentioned that we're asking for more from the county to service that area because we are increasing the staffing level this year.
That answers the question. Thank you.
Other questions concerning the budget?
I don't have
Yes,
a question.
David?
I don't have a question, but I'll be glad to work with, Paige,
Yeah.
to get over in our neighborhood, so
Okay.
we can get everything, so you all know exactly that we can get people to come to the meeting, because they're not interested in it, but when they see this, they may be interested in it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you.
John?
Yes, sir.
I would like to make it clear that we are agreeing tonight that we will send a copy of pertinent mailings to the churches in the area. We have discussed it before. I thought we were doing it.
We are doing
Just-
it. We are doing it.
Okay.
It is being done.
May I ask a question about that, Pat, if I could? Pat, now that we are, at one time we did begin to email our newsletters, which what we did was we took copies to the in-town churches. And we felt like when we began to mail it to every resident in town, that it didn't make sense to take it to the out-of-town churches. Do you see that differently?
Yeah.
You still think even though we're mailing it to every house, we should take it to the churches that are out of town also?
Well, and the reason I say that is because, are you familiar with the post office boxes and that type of thing?
We mail it to every address in 28036.
Okay. Now, for those people that don't have post office boxes, pick it up.
It goes either to their mailing address, whatever that is in 28036. It can go to either their house or their PO box.
Okay, like I said, what I'd like to do is do it for a period of time. Let me monitor and see what's going on, because like you said, we gave some email addresses too. And see, the church I go to is in Virginia, we have people go to church in New Orleans, we have people go to church from up here, go to Charlotte, and all this stuff, and I'm trying to get that information. And let's do it, say, over a 90-day period of time, and I'll just touch base with the people that I see if they're getting it. Because the reason I say that is I gave the our church email, and we didn't get it.
But what we would have to do now, I think, is rather than email them, why don't you and Christina figure out how the best way to do
Christine and I
it?
work out.
Very
And
good.
like I said, all I want is because what I'm feeling here now is that you feel like when we come to complain. But our complaints are legitimate because, like I said, people don't know. Like I said, I'm on the email address. And when Connie was sitting up there, Connie used to send me stuff. But now I don't get a lot of email stuff. And every time I come, I give my email address, but I don't get it. So like I said, if I'm not getting it, then somebody else is not getting it, okay? So I'll work with Christina and we'll get it in the right hands. And then one thing I can tell you, I'm gonna call through on it, find what's going on. And if people are not getting it, you say you're doing it, and I'll be back up here. And I will be in your meeting, but I'm gonna
welcome anytime. Other questions or comments concerning the budget? All right, I will declare this public hearing closed. Thank you very much for your comments and questions. The next item on our agenda is the consent agenda, and we have 6 items on that agenda tonight. The approval of minutes of our April and earlier May meetings, a compilation of the Board of Commissioners' regular meeting schedule for the rest of this year, the approval of some budget amendments, the approval of the contract to audit our accounts on an annual basis, the approval of the tax levy adjustment, and finally, a resolution regarding the rectangular rapid flashing beacons at the multi-lane roundabouts at the circles of 30 on Griffith Street. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? Motion is made to approve. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. It is so moved. Thank you very much. The next item on our agenda is a new piece of new business in your packet and forwarded to you several weeks ago. As a resolution requesting legislative action on the coal ash issue in North Carolina. I will tell you that I am responsible for putting this together, and I have communicated with our neighbor towns here in Mecklenburg, since we all drink out of the Catawba River, and there is increased concern in recent months